Good morning, everyone. I'm Pastor Manny, and this is Looking Up. It's a ministry here we have at English Oaks, and Sunday through Friday, Pastor Bob and I share an encouraging thought for the day. And just kind of going off of what we've been talking about, Pastor Bob and I, and talking about the kingdom and God's kingdom. And when Jesus came on the scene and he started his ministry, a lot of times, as I mentioned before in a previous video, he talked about the kingdom of heaven is at hand, right? Or the kingdom of heaven is like. So when you think about a kingdom, the kingdom has to have some type of way, right? Some type of laws, I guess you could say. And so when there is Jesus as the king, right? And Jesus gives us a blueprint of how he wants his followers to live in his kingdom, right? Because when you have a king, the king gets to make the law of the land. And so Jesus, as he starts his ministry, he begins to share this with his people, and us as followers of Jesus, we really need to take these to heart, and we really need to really walk by these. Because the reason why that is because if we truly want to follow Jesus, we really have to look at his words, not just look at them and hear them, but actually do them. So these are just some of the things as he begins. And I'm gonna go to the Sermon on the Mount. And the Sermon on the Mount really reflects Mount Sinai, if you remember, in the Old Testament, right? You have God and Moses. God is giving Moses the law. And this is like another example of Jesus. He is on the mountain, right? And people are surrounding him. His disciples are with him. So you see the parallel between the Father and what Jesus was there, with Jesus, which was also there. So you've seen the parallels between these two in the Old Testament and New Testament. And Jesus begins to share what he wants for his children, what he wants his children to be like in his kingdom, how they can live the kingdom here on earth as it is in heaven. And these are just some of the things that I'm going to share. I'm not going to share all of them, but this is what Jesus says. And he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Right, there you go. There's that phrase again, the kingdom of heaven. So he's giving these attributes of what his followers will be like when they are living for the kingdom of heaven. Right, and to be poor in spirit simply means to recognize the depth, to recognize your need of God, to recognize that you need a higher power, you need Jesus in your life because of just the way, because we were born into sin and into iniquity, So being poor in spirit recognizes that we are in need of Jesus. And blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. And when we think about it, when we think about all the things that are happening around the world, this should really cause us to mourn, because people are hurting, and not just to mourn for other people's pain, but for our own pain, to mourn for the sin that destroys us. We should mourn over these things, and we should desire to reach out to God and to help us to transform our hearts. So what makes you mourn? What makes you tearful? Is it foster homes where kids they get sent there because of situations at home? Is it sex trafficking? Is it people who are addicted to drugs? Is it mental health issues? Is it abuse of people, abuse of power? What makes you mourn? Another one is blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. I love that word, meek. And people think meekness is weakness, but meekness is actually power. When you look at Jesus, he demonstrated so much meekness, but his meekness was turned into power because of the way he used it, right? So, and I'm going to stop right there. And these are just three examples of how Jesus says. These are examples of how he shares, like, these are the people that live in my kingdom. This is how they're going to be, right? They're going to be poor in spirit. They're going to mourn. They're going to be meek, right? And so this is something I just want to challenge us as we look at our world today. You know, a lot of our world is based on authority and power and how I can assert my power over you. But that's not how Jesus lived, right? Jesus lived a meek life. He was meek, but again, meekness isn't weakness. Meekness is power. And so, you know, just some thoughts I wanted to share with us today. And I hope this really challenges us and to really look at how we can live God's kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. All right. So I hope you're having a great week. Take care. God bless. And you guys are in our thoughts and prayers. All right. Have a good day.